Hi everyone, this is going to be my character guide on Don't Starve Together. First, I'd like to say that you should play with all the characters. They're all great and they're all very unique and they have different playstyles, and it's fun to play with each of them. I've played with every single character and I love playing with each character, and I usually will click random because it's fun to not know which character you're going to start with. But for the purpose of this guide, I'm going to talk about their benefits and disbenefits. I'm also going to arbitrarily rank them on a scale of 1 to 10, because if you are having trouble with the game, using the right character can make a difference. So let's start this off by talking about Wilson. Wilson is one of my favorite characters. You start with him, and he's great. He has no disbenefits. His benefit is that he grows a magnificent beard. Now, in Reign of Giants, this will help insulate in the winter, and in the summer you'll have to shave it off so you don't overheat. But in the base game, it really only helps because you can shave it to get beard hair, and beard hair with some meat, you can make a meat effigy, and with the meat effigy you can revive yourself, and that's going to be really helpful to make, and it's going to be a lot easier than getting beard hair the other way, which is by killing beardlings. So he has this great benefit and he has no disbenefits. He's a solid character, all his stats are great. Now, once you start surviving more and survive a couple of days and then survive longer, you will unlock characters. The second character you're going to unlock is the Firestarter, and that's Willow. I would tend to stay with Wilson if you're having trouble for the first couple of characters. The reason being is I give Wilson about a 7 out of 10. I probably give Willow a 1 out of 10. Willow is my least favorite character when it comes to surviving. She has two benefits, but her disbenefit is just awful. So let's talk about her benefits. Immune to fire damage doesn't really help in the base game. You shouldn't be standing in fire. It's a really hard thing to get lit on fire by accident. It's just not that much of a benefit. And in Reign of Giants, it helps you fight the dragonfly, but there's much better ways to fight the dragonfly than taking massive amounts of fire damage. So it's not really that much of a benefit. She does gain sanity from being close to fire, but she does lose sanity at a pretty sharp rate, and she has a low max sanity. Not that sanity matters that much. Let's talk about her lighter. Her lighter is a benefit as well, in that you could just drop it if you don't really want it, but honestly, I drop it on the first day most of the time. It is basically an infinite torch, but the light radius is much smaller. Now, since a torch is so easy to make, has actually a good amount of percentage before you use it, especially if you're not just walking around with it out. If you're just flashing it out to move away the dark or to light things on fire, you can use I will use my first torch to day 10, and it only costs a couple twigs and some, grass, which is very easily renewable. So I usually will get a torch the first thing I do and then drop the lighter. So it's not really that much of a benefit. You can use it in an emergency situation to survive the night if you don't have a fire, but if you're ending up in that situation a lot, you should really change your play style rather than play the Firestarter. And let's talk about her disbenefit. In my opinion, it is the worst in the game. She lights fires when she's nervous, and fire is the biggest danger to you in the entire game, because a fire can burn down your entire base. Even if you build your base to be far enough apart where fire can't spread to any other stuff, you'll have a really large base that's hard to navigate through, and you'll still burn down stuff occasionally, because when she's under 60 sanity, she can light a fire. It usually doesn't happen, but say you're getting something out of a chest and your sanity drops, she can light a fire. Say your sanity drops, you don't want to walk near your chest, so you go to your tent to sleep, she lights a fire before you get in your tent. It's really aggravating, and it's led to me burning down my entire base on day 60 or day 100. It's very hard to deal with, and it never goes away, and it's a really big problem with her. And her max sanity is 100, I think, and it really doesn't take that much to drop down the sanity. You get attacked by a boss or something, and suddenly her sanity is at 40, and now not only are you worried about the boss, you're worried about burning everything down. It can be really frustrating, and I don't recommend playing with her if you're having a hard time. But lighting things on fire is great, and things are much prettier when they're burning, so she is a good character. She's just not objectively that great. I don't really like Wolfgang either. I'd probably give Wolfgang a 3 out of 10. The Strongman, he gets stronger with a full belly. Seems like a benefit. It's also kind of a disbenefit because he consumes hunger at a much higher rate. So once you became the Strongman, when your hunger meter's full or close to full, it's actually, I think, past 200 or 150, you get stronger, but you also consume hunger faster until you go back down to normal, and then you consume hunger at a normal rate and also are normal strength. I think that's a benefit because if you control it right, you should never go into Strongman mode unless you need to go into Strongman mode, say to fight a boss or something. But normally, maxing out Wolfgang is not a good idea, because hunger is really the hardest thing to control in this game, and it's usually the make or break point for surviving, especially during the winter or during the summer when it might be harder to get food. Now, if you're consuming hunger at a higher rate, you're really just wasting food all the time. And it's not that hard to kill anything. The only things that are hard to kill, like bosses, you can kill them in a lot of different ways that doesn't really need high amount of attack. And then when you get to a low belly, you will get very hungry and you get weaker. So really, the only situation I end up with as Wolfgang is constantly fighting off, trying to be full enough not to consume more hunger, but full enough where I'm not weaker. And that's just, it's not really that great. I'd rather play Wilson and not have to worry about any of that. And then he's afraid of darkened monsters. He loses sanity at a higher rate. I don't think that's a big deal. Sanity is super easy to control. And then we're going to unlock, eventually, Wendy, the Bereaved. She's the third one to be unlocked. She is a great character. She's not very good late game. She's very good for people who are having difficulty with this game. She's a great learning character. Her two benefits is she's comfortable with darkness, which means you're going to lose sanity less fast. For an experienced player, that doesn't really matter. But for a new character, sanity can be something that's difficult to deal with when you're also dealing with health and hunger. Her twin sister is great. All you have to do is kill something near the flower after you drop it, and it'll activate her twin sister. Her twin sister is a nightlight who walks around, so if you get caught in the dark, you can just stand under her sister, even though her sister will move around and try and get you killed. But you can do that. I've survived through the night just following Abigail around. Anyway, her twin sister also will tank and attack mobs who are hostile to you. And basically has a good amount of health, so can take a good amount of hits, and does an AoE damage strike that is normal during the day, gets more powerful at night, and towards midnight gets very powerful. What this means is towards midnight you can agitate a spider nest, and she'll basically kill all the spiders in 1 or 2 hits. Which is great. It's the fastest way to collect spiders. She doesn't hit very hard. That's her disbenefit. That can be a huge problem later in the game, because she does less damage to things like bosses and things like, harder things. If you're trying to kill Wolfman to get some, pig skin, it can be quite difficult. And Abigail will just try and tank everything. And when Abigail tries to tank something that's powerful, it will probably just kill Abigail in 2 to 3 hits. And you can't summon Abigail for another 3 days until the flower opens again, or 2 days or whatever. And that's a really big spawn timer when you're trying to kill something. So Abigail doesn't really work against any of the hard enemies, but she's a really good safety cushion against any of the hounds when they come earlier in the game. So I would play her if you're having trouble with the game. WX78, he gets a 9 out of 10 for me. Most people would rank him as the best. I don't think he's the best, not because he's bad, but because I don't think his benefits are as good as they could be. First, let's talk about not a picky eater. Not a picky eater means he can eat stale food and not receive a penalty. This is probably one of the best things about him. Early in the game, you might run into a situation where you have an abundance of food, but no fridge, you have nowhere to put it, and your food's going stale, and you can only combine stacks so much to reduce the staleness on foods. Eventually, you're going to eat stale food sometime. Or even if it's just you have an abundance of food and feel like eating stale food. Not having a penalty from that is great. And then, charged by lightning, damaged by water. Charged by lightning at first can seem like a disbenefit because he gets struck by lightning sometimes. Reduces your sanity, but at the cost of you glowing and also being able to move a lot faster, which means you can work completely through the night very early on just by trying to get struck by lightning, which is actually pretty easy if you know what you're doing. You just stand out in the open for a little bit, you get struck by lightning. Damaged by water, that's his one disbenefit. That is not a big deal. He barely gets damaged by water. In the normal game, this can be kind of a problem because you have to get pigskin to get an umbrella, and it can take a little bit to get to it, but it doesn't rain that much. And you can actually just eat flowers and butterflies and heal that damage because it's a very, very slow trickle of damage. In Reign of Giants, you can make an umbrella out of flowers the first day pretty easily, so that's not a problem either. I have had some issues where I'm struggling to survive, and it gets really annoying that I have to constantly heal, and it takes a lot of time. And then can upgrade with gears. He starts with low base stats, but not that low where it's much of a problem. His hunger and all that is manageable completely from the start. Who cares about sanity? But his ability to upgrade with gears is great because not only are gears food for him because he can just eat them fully upgraded, they give him a ton of health, sanity, and hunger. but you can get to a really high max stats with him. It can, in the base game, it's probably less of a benefit because there's not that many clockwork monsters, but in Reign of Giants they're everywhere, so it's really great. And he's really good to go through adventure mode with. I'll probably do a tutorial on that. You can not even make a base, you could just walk through adventure mode with him if you know what you're doing. But he's a great character. I give him a 9 out of 10. I'd say he's probably the best or the second best character. Let's talk about Wickerbottom, the Librarian. Wickerbottom's great. I give her a 5 out of 10. She's a really even character. Maybe like a 6 out of 10. I don't know. It's hard to know because her knows many things and can't sleep and hates spoilage can be kind of a difficult thing to deal with. Early on, you don't need a science machine, and you can only make, an alchemy engine stuff with her science machine. It's not that great of a benefit. Sometimes it's kind of annoying because you can't gain sanity early on with her. And since she can't sleep and she can't prototype a bunch of stuff because she already has it prototyped, sanity can be kind of an issue with her. It's not that big a deal. It's easy to deal with 0 sanity, but it's time consuming to constantly be dealing with shadow monsters. I will deal with it no problem every couple of days because I'm just not watching my sanity, but she's dealing with it constantly. It can get kind of an issue. Her hating spoilage is an issue too if you have to eat early on and you're slow because your sanity losses. But her books kind of make up for all of that because her books can do some pretty amazing stuff. Even in non-Reign of Giants, you can regrow everything on the screen. If you make your base in a big circle where you can stand in the middle and grow all your twigs, all your ferns, all your farmland, all your berry bushes, she can take one book and just make a huge big deal out of it. If you're playing with other people and don't starve together, having one Wickerbottom can be a lot of good. I would definitely pick her on the team and don't starve together if you don't have her on any of the other people. Her books are great. The Lumberjack's going to be the last one you unlock in the base game. He has a lovely axe. He has a terrible secret. His axe, Lucy's great. It chops a lot faster. It has infinite durability. If you chop too much with it, you turn into a werebeaver. You can avoid that very easily and just play with the super awesome axe as long as you don't chop a lot of wood at the same time. You'll get warnings from Lucy, his axe, to stop chopping wood. And if you play for a very little bit with him, or you look it up on the wiki, you'll be able to see that it's pretty easy to interpret the warnings. And you can actually just count your chops or count your trees too. So you don't have to go into a werebeaver ever if you know what you're doing. It's pretty easy to avoid. And being a werebeaver isn't that much of a disbenefit. If it's in the middle of the day when you plan to get a lot of stuff done, yeah, it can really hurt you. Because you can't really stop being a werebeaver until you run out of a wood meter or until you get damaged a bunch. But when you stop, you wake up the next day, and that's a lot of wasted time, especially if you accidentally turn into a werebeaver early in the day. You can waste a whole day. But it can be used for your benefit. If you're running out of food or you're in the winter and you don't know what to do, you can just convert yourself into a werebeaver and eat trees. And then, or run out and go to the next day and keep triggering it so that you survive. When you come out of it, you're not going to have any of your items. You're going to drop them where you are, which can also be a problem. And you're going to be at half everything. That can be a problem. But if you just turn yourself back into a werebeaver, you can sustain yourself like that for a while. So it's a good, oh shit button. I don't have Wes unlocked. I don't know why. I must have missed him when I was in adventure mode last time. I'm not really paying attention. Wes is, I give Woody a 7 out of 10 because he has that option to turn a werebeaver. I give Wes a 3 out of 10. I give Wes a better rating than Willow. Alright, and Wes has no benefits and a ton of disbenefits. So Wes has a pile of balloons which you can blow up and they just float away and then they just pop and they don't really do much. They can damage monsters, but you can't really direct them. They can be helpful sometime for exploring and revealing places, but they're not very useful and they lower your sanity, which is kind of a good thing because you can voluntarily drop his sanity very low if you want to farm shadow monsters or beardlings or something. But he also does less damage. He sucks at surviving, which means he takes I think more damage, or his hunger goes by. I don't know. And also he doesn't talk, which doesn't seem like that bad, but he won't talk about bosses and stuff when they're near, so you have less of a time to deal with them. I still have played with him. He's great. He's a really fun character. Alright, Maxwell, the Puppet Master. So, spoiler alert, if you beat, adventure mode, you're going to get Maxwell as a character. I give him a 5 out of 10. I don't really like playing as Maxwell. He has some pretty good benefits, but his disbenefits being his incredibly low starting stats. You can't change his starting stats because he doesn't upgrade, and he has very low health. He has 75 health with good armor, that doesn't matter that much, but when you're fighting a boss and your armor runs out, if a boss hits you and your armor runs out, you can get close to death in 1 or 2 hits, and that can be really scary. It's good to have at least 150 max health, I think. A little less than that is fine, but for the entire game, when you're later in the game, it's really hard. His sanity, his dapperness, he gains a ton of sanity. You can never run out of sanity with him. It's crazy how much sanity he gains. That's kind of a disbenefit, because sometimes you want to go insane, so you can farm beardlings or shadow monsters, especially earlier in the game, and you just never can with Maxwell, because he just regains it too fast. It's a benefit in that you don't have to worry about sanity normally, and that you can equip the shadow armor and the shadow sword and not lose sanity, which I do on normal characters, but it can be annoying dropping sanity, like I said, a lot. It's annoying, it's not game ending, but bringing his own sword isn't really that great. I mean, it's a good start, but a spear is just as good, and a log armor is almost just as good, just a little worse, and it's not really that big a deal, because, you know, they're going to run out eventually. Fragmenting his mind is his most useful trait. It's a really useful trait. You can make shadow workers early on at the cost of sanity, which he can gain back, and shadow essence, which normally would be really easy to get by dropping your sanity, but it's actually quite difficult with them, ironically. And you can just use those to harvest a ton of wood in the first couple of days, and that's really great. Wigfrid's my favorite character. I main Wigfrid on all my big worlds, all my long worlds. Spend thousands of days as Wigfrid. I love Wigfrid. I give Wigfrid a 10 out of 10. Wigfrid is the best character, in my opinion. Excels in battle. She does more damage. Gains power from fallen foes. Means she gets health and sanity from killing foes. So basically, you can't ever run out of sanity or health, because you can just kill spiders. If you just base near spiders or bats or anything, you can just kill them and regain your health. It's really easy. She has another benefit that doesn't mention here, where she has a battle spear and a battle helm you can make with, you know, gold, stones, and twigs and stuff like that are better than the spear and are basically better than the log armor. But not only that, you can wear it in your head slot, and there's not a lot else you can wear in your head slot. If you get pigskin, you can make a football helmet, but this is so much easier to make than with pigskin, and it protects you for more. So basically, I use her helmet, and that frees up a slot for a backpack, so I can wear a backpack all throughout the game, even when I'm fighting enemies, where normally I'd wear long armor for safety, or just wear nothing and I don't really care. But if you're fighting a boss, you should wear armor, and you can just wear a helmet, use your battle spear throughout the entire game, and really good. Only eating meat is a disbenefit, but it's not really that bad a disbenefit. At first, it seems like really difficult, like you can't eat all this stuff, especially very early in the game when you're subsisting on berries. But if you know what you're doing, it's pretty easy to get an alchemy engine up by day 1. Usually with her, I do a quick base and I do an alchemy engine. And you can also just eat monster meat, which loses health and sanity, and then gain it back by killing stuff. So you can just survive on monster meat with her, because all the health and sanity you lose, you'll gain back from the next kill. So you can do that, or you can just rush to a crock pot and then just only make meatballs. Meatballs, honey ham, meat stew, those are all the best things to eat anyway. So you're fine. You don't have to manage your sanity. You don't have to manage your health. Your hunger is great, because you can just kill a bunch of stuff and like eat a bunch of monster meat. She's a really good character. I really love her. And look at like that style. She's just has great style. You unlock her by having Reign of Giants and by getting enough days to unlock her. Weber is another great character. I really like Weber. You can unlock him by doing this thing where you get Weber's skull from like killing spiders or something, and then you go bury it in a grave, and then I'll unlock him. He is a monster. You can eat monster meat at no disbenefit. You can also befriend spiders by giving him monster meat, which means you have a really early source of minions to mine stuff faster and chop trees faster. And his beard, you can like shave that for silk. Silk's easy to get, so it's not that good, and it doesn't insulate you as much as Wilson. But he's a really great character. Besides that, he will kind of scare pigs, so you got to worry about that. But I think he's great, and you can actually make spider nests with him, which is something you can't do with any other character. So in Don't Starve Together, I would definitely have a Weber on my team, so you can make spider nests wherever you want. You can make a trove of spider nests either to protect you from something, and then you can just go feed them all monster meat and then take on a boss really easily. And it's actually really fun to do. Or you can, you know, just farm them, and since they don't dislike you, you can kill them, and the other ones won't mind usually. So you can, you know, farm spiders very easily. And that's all the characters. I think they're all great to play with, and I've personally played with each one of them. I've probably played with Wes the least. I forgot about ratings. I give Weber 7 out of 10. He's great. I give a lot of 7 out of 10s. A lot of the characters are really great. I don't like Willow, as you've heard about, but you know, every character is worth playing with at least once or twice, especially if you've unlocked them. And they all have their benefits, and they all have their disbenefits, and it depends on what kind of playstyle you're going to play with. If you're going to play with a more nomad-type playstyle, you know, Willow can be great. So can, you know, Abigail can be great if you're, you know, trying to kill and you just keep getting destroyed by stuff. So I hope you have a fun time playing. I hope this helped someone if you're trying to choose a character or you're having trouble with the game. You know, play as Wendy, or play as, if you have Reign of Giants, maybe playing as Wigfrid will help you out. But, you know, just have fun. Play the game however you want. Alright, thank everyone.